This is a recreation of the stuff of legend. We go back to 1789 is the year. It was the mutiny on the Bounty. And what happened, Ant?
Basically, there was a disagreement on HMS Bounty, and it said it was through coconuts. Someone'd stolen some coconuts. Anyway, the captain was tied up in the night, Captain Bligh, and he was put on a survival boat, basically, with his sympathisers and left to fend for his own life.
So they literally set them adrift?
Basically, they were left for dead. It was a case of, you know, you have to fend for yourselves. Here's your sympathisers. We're taking over HMS Bounty, and, you know, you're on your own, basically.
And you wanted to find out how on earth they survived on the minimum rations and equipment. How true to the original conditions did you try and make this?
It was very important for myself when this project came up that we kept it authentic, and that was even down to the clothing, the exact replica of the boat.
Yeah, we go, what went through your mind? Like,
no comment.
I think it's safe to say I was a little bit complacent going into it. I thought it was going to be the dry season and it'd be a nice opportunity to have a little cruise and get a tan.
But you see, you have to do one of the toughest things. I mean, as the producer cameraman, and I've filmed on boats before, and the toughest job is for the camera operator, because often they've got to look down a lens. So they will get seasick even if there's no seasickness to be had. And you still have to film while inclement weather takes place, whether there's crises on board, whatever it happens to be. You still have to record everything as well.
Yeah, I mean, cameras and water don't go together very well, you know, so we were in this sort of constant fear that a big wave was going to come over the side or it's going to start gushing it down with rain and that we'd wreck all the equipment, so we were sort of constantly on edge like that. So
this man is what he is, former SAS. He will get you through this or not. How tough was it being under his captaincy?
Ant was a fantastic captain. We wouldn't have made it if we hadn't had him in charge. It was an absolute ordeal, to be honest. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And yeah, I mean, without sort of bigging him up too much, he did a fantastic job.
And how tough did you have to be? Because, I mean, there's obviously a support boat that you know, if there was a real dire emergency, you could have called. But if somebody had to go, would that have been the end for them? You wouldn't have let them back onto your boat?
Yeah, it was very important, and I made it very clear from the beginning that the safety boat wasn't there in a way. If people wanted to get onto the safety boat and it wasn't an emergency, then you were off the boat. It was as simple as that.
Well, it depends what an emergency is. I mean,
we had no way of... We'd no waterproof gear, so it rained for, I think it was, I know exactly, it was 96 hours in a row, and we just got wetter and wetter and wetter, and my flesh just got waterlogged, and it just started coming off. It got to the point where they were just agonisingly sore, and I couldn't undo my fly, I couldn't touch a camera, I couldn't pull a rope. It was
painful, I bet.
Horrible.
Wow.
Did you ever think that you weren't going to make it?
Look at your hands.
That never entered my mind. I didn't want that to enter my mind.
Did it enter your mind, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When my hands were like that, if it had rained for another day, I think I'd have had to be...
And how are they now? How long does that take to sort itself out?
I mean, they're still not... I mean, I'm never going to be a hand model, but, I mean, they're much better. Once you dry out, they heal quite quickly.
So what distance was this trip?
It was about 4,000 miles, from Tonga to Timor.
And your wife was preparing to have a baby as well?
Yes, she was.
6 months
She was heavily pregnant, and I actually came back on her due date. And so when this project came about, I sort of stood there like an excited kid looking at her, and she sort of looked at me and went, you know, go on, go off out and play. So it was very much a mutual agreement. Yeah, she's amazing, and she's, you know, she lets me go out and do what I want to do.
Did you ever have any moments, as Eamonn said, you know, you're a tough guy, did you have any moment there, which you couldn't probably show to your crew, where you thought, we're in trouble here?
Exactly that. I couldn't show it to the crew, but yeah, during the storms, it doesn't matter if the safety boat was there or not, it couldn't come into us. It was just there to mark our location, because the storms are so bad and the waves, they've got the storms coming down, that the safety boat came and we just smash up against it.
How fraught did it get between you all personally? I mean, were you able to identify with Captain Bligh? I
tried not to, you know, to identify too much with him. I tried to look at the voyage in a whole and just try to lead as Ant Middleton.
Yeah.
And the differences between us, having read his journal, well, you know, I lead a different manner that he does, but we both got the job done, so...